What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Verified AMA. I'm your host, Lawton Ho, with Verified Investing. I go live every single day. The markets are open from 12:30 to 1:15 to answer your questions. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you all had a good weekend. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure you click that like and subscribe button to us on the Verified Investing YouTube channel. It'd be much appreciated. But anyways, guys, how is everybody doing this fine Monday day? I spent the day, woke up early. I went to the courthouse at 8 o'clock to get some documents signed. I got some documents signed. I got the wrong document signed. And it is no bueno because I got to go back to the courthouse today. Mar says, good, thanks, buddy. Just like, thanks so much, brother. Thanks for liking it. The way this works, guys, is you ask questions, I give you answers. If you want to submit your questions, go ahead and scan this QR code down below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you guys have. With that being said, what's going on? What questions do you guys have for me? You can also visit the verifiedinvesting.com website, and I can answer your question there. Jalen says, what do you think about the daily chart of SEI? Let's take a look. SEI, USDT, I can do this. Okay, let's take a look at SEI. SEI kind of just chilling here. Let's see this. Kind of have this like kind of wedge pattern, right? It's a nice wedge pattern here on SEI USDT. Kind of broke up from it and retraced down to it. Additionally, let's take a look at this. You do have a nice head and shoulders pattern. Shoulder, head, shoulder. Sorry, guys. I'm kind of flustered. I'm still mad. I got to go back to the courthouse. I literally spent like an hour wandering through trying to like find the right place, and just sucks. Anyways, so a nice head and shoulders pattern here on SEI. Oh my God. However you want to draw the shoulder, right? You could say that it bounced and it's retraced. Let's see that measured move here. Break of this upsloping trend line. The measured move is a move down, basically 46%. Don't anticipate it to go 46% down, but I could see a move in the 20s, maybe down to 22 cents and 40 cents, 22.40. But anyways, it is what it is. Lynn says, hi, Lon. What's up, Lynn? How you doing today? I'm all right. We're getting there. Just one of those days. Did Microsoft and JPM both break out of their recent resistance level? Was the next swing trade? Yeah, we had this nice upsloping trend line that Microsoft did finally break down from, right? It had a decent fall, fell about 5%, which is okay. The support level I had on this was this gap fill down here. Nice little gap fill here around $496, that's where I did anticipate a bounce on Microsoft. Another gap fill here, and all these levels are levels of resistance on this stock, Microsoft. Nice move up, 3%. If it does retrace, I would consider reshorting it on a retrace to this line, or even at a new all-time highs. Popped initially off of earnings, right? at all-time highs, popped up 8% off earnings, fell significantly afterwards. So a retrace to that upsloping trend line could provide some resistance for the stock. Let's see, JPM. I don't have a long trade for that. Let's see. So here on JPM, let's see here, trend lines, kind of like this, breaking a couple of trend lines right now. Let's see if we have a better one. Oops. From all-time high to all-time high. All right, there's some resistance there. So you should get resistance on the third hit of this trend line at around $311. If you're looking at where to potentially buy this, I mean, you're at an uptrend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days up, right? So we're on time count watch now. So we'll see if we do get a time count, but you can see that it's clearly kind of this upsloping trend line, upsloping trend. If you can break down, you're anticipating a fall. Right? I don't have a specific level to buy JPM. Like, I need to see a decent correction on JPM before I'd be interested in entering along on something that's near all-time highs. Like maybe if it fell 10%, I'd be a buyer. I'll just mark some levels on my chart. You can take a picture, pause the stream, do whatever you need to do. But these are the levels that I'd consider entering JPM. 278, 264, 262, and 253. Mike says, what short levels do you see on WDC on MU? WDC. I don't even remember where this line is from. I must have wrote this a long time ago. Let's see here. See what I got. Come on. Okay, there you go. So there's my first shortable level. I love this trend line, actually. Third hit would be... Let's see where it would place it. WDC having a decent day today. So it would have to go up an additional 11%. That's one area you could short it. Let's see other trend lines. You can see that when things are all-time highs, I usually resort to trend lines, try and find levels. This trend line would be even higher. Now, I like this trend line here, around the 112, 113 level, depending on when it reached it, right? Just paid a dividend and it's pushing up. Just know that it has earnings in 38 days. For MU, I might be able to provide a better level for you on MU. It just pierced double top. Previous all-time highs on MU. Could be putting in a topping tail, a really nice topping tail. So this would be a good opportunity to short. What you could do, let's say it closed here. You can just short it right here, all-time high, topping tail, short it, and stop out on a close above that top. Basically, when that topping tail is negated. That's something you could choose to do, Mike, on MU. That's what I would likely do on Micron. Chad says, hi, Lon. I hope the weekend went well. Not too bad. Worked from home today. So able to make the live show. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Chad. Gusty winds from the UK today, so not able to enjoy the weather. Yeah, I heard. I've been to London a handful of times, and every time I've gone, it's been kind of overcast. But yeah, NEO looks to be attempting to break out of its recent bullish consolidation. Take a look at NEO, huh? Yeah, so I had bull flag here, another bullish consolidation. This is the resistance. It's already in my chart. Closes above since I'm long and over 7% up. Nice, congratulations. This is my level on the charts for resistance. 721 and 770 for gap fill and double top on NIO. That's where I'd be looking for resistance on NEO. Sorry to hear about the courthouse difficulties. It's all good. It's just the course is like anything that you got to go through the government is just sucks, right? Like any court thing, like getting your driver's license, like the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, it's like a war zone in there. You got to walk up, you got to press a button, you got to pull a ticket, and you got to wait. Gold looks to be negating its topping tail from a few days back. Let's take a look. It looks to be, yeah, absolutely. If it closes up here, yeah, it definitely does look like it. It's not a bull flag because this is upsloping. It does favor a pullback, but yeah, here's the thing. And I said that I was less like we were having this discussion for the past couple of weeks, right? And I had said that even though gold does favor a pullback, I was less keen on shorting gold rather than the overall markets, right? Markets look kind of fragile, but gold seems like pretty strong. And if the markets do fall, I anticipate gold to even move up potentially, or at least be stronger than the markets. Mara says, if a stock or crypto has four topping tails in one day, send 10-minute, 15-minute, 2-hour, and the daily, what does it say? Well, here's the thing, right? When you're looking at topping tails, whatever, let's turn this into a teachable moment. I remember their production team, but whenever you're looking at a pattern, whether it be a topping tail, a head and shoulders pattern, wedge pattern, whatever you want to call it, right? The time frame that it's in is generally the time frame you expect that move to play out. Now, if I see a topping tail on the weekly, then I expect that topping tail to play out over the course of a couple of weeks, and I expect it to be negated if it were to become negated over the course of on a weekly basis, right? So if there's 4 topping tails, 10-minute, 15-minute. Generally, if it's a topping tail on the 10-minute, it could be on the 15-minute. 2-hour, I don't really use a 2-hour, but still valid, right? You expect it to play out over the tone, play out over the course of the 2 hours time frame, and then on a daily topping tail like this one here on gold, you are kind of expecting it to play out over the course of a couple of days, but it does appear that it will become negated today, right? It doesn't mean if there's like one topping tail in the 1 minute, 10-minute, hourly, and daily. It just means it favors a pullback in each of those time frames. It doesn't mean like there's like a mega like Exodia amalgamation of evidence mounting together being like, this means that all these buttons were hit, so this is going to have a crazy pullback. It's like you've hit all the vital points of like the weaknesses of it. It's going to fall. No, it just means that it favors a pullback on each of those time frames. David says, hey David, BBW on NASDAQ. Build a Bear, okay, has performed 2,500% in the last 5 years, twice the performance of NVIDIA. Can you do analysis on the stock that, in my opinion, should replace Tesla in the Mag 7? Well, first of all, that is quite an insane thing to say. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but the reason why Tesla is part of the Mag 7, the reason Microsoft, NVIDIA, those companies are part of the Mag 7 are because of their market cap, right? Let's take a look. Before we look at BBW, Build a Bear Workshop, NVIDIA's market cap is $4.33 trillion. Build a Bear Workshop, their market cap is under $1 billion, right? which actually means, which is the reason why this thing can move 50% in the course of a month. If NVIDIA moved 50% in a month, I don't know what would happen. The markets would go insane, right? So 50% of a move, right? So basically it gained like $400 million in over the course of a month, and that's a massive move. For NVIDIA to move like $400 million, I feel like that could happen in a day, and it'd be like a 3 or 4% move. Not even sure. Maybe less. I haven't done the math. Trillion, billion. So we can do the math, right? That moves 50% on BBW. That move for NVIDIA. So divided by 10. So 10% move up would be 4 billion, right? Well, 400 billion. So that would be something, yeah. Let me do the quick math. I don't know. 4 trillion. Okay, so it's a 0.1% move. 0.1% move. So this move, NVIDIA has already, even though most people would say this is flat for the day, NVIDIA has already moved the entire move of BBW over the past month. And it was a 50% increase. So it definitely has performed well. I'm not saying it hasn't, right? Build a Bear Workshop. It's currently trading at all-time highs on a nice run, but I think it's difficult to argue that the stock should be considered on the Magnificent Seven and replace Tesla. Anyways, I'm assuming you're joking though. For me on BBW, potential resistance level is a retrace to this upsloping trend line, about $77, about 5% higher. Okay. Becky says, I watched crypto live trading earlier. Sure. What does it mean 3x leverage when Ben placed the AI 16 earlier? Are the 3x meaning the first target, second target, or no thanks? Absolutely. So I'm trading stocks, but more so crypto, you can use something called leverage. Let's say, for example, I have $1,000 in my account, right? And let's say there is a chart that I want to buy that costs $500, right? Well, I can buy 2 of them, right? I can buy 2 of them using my normal buying power, right? I can buy exactly 2 of them. But if I trade with leverage, for example, 3x leverage, then I will have, when I trade with leverage and I use 3x leverage, I will have $3,000 in buying power. So instead of buying 2, I can buy 6, right? Now you're wondering, why can you do that? Well, it's because that's what leverage is. It just is a multiplier for you, right? It means that your gains are going to be 3 times as much, but your losses will also be 3 times as much. So it's very dangerous. 3x leverage is like pretty normal, right? Is not that bad. But when we're trading, right, and the platform that we use, Blowfin, a shout out to them, they have up to 150 times leverage. So if you can imagine 150 times leverage instead of 3,000, and I hope I'm doing this right, you're getting $150,000 with only $1,000, right? The downside, and you're like, why wouldn't you do this all the time? It's free money. It's true. But when your loss, right, all the losses on your account are magnified as well. So when your loss, when you're using leverage, let's say you use 150x leverage, if your loss is ever greater than that $1,000, right? If your loss is ever greater than that $1,000, your entire position is liquidated. All your money is gone. Right? Even if it's a 1% or 0.5% move, whatever it is, right? Because you put $1,000 in. So you have to be very careful when you're using leverage. But 3x is generally not enough to make a difference. All right. Scott says, hello, Lawton. Thank you, Gareth, Ben, and Drew, for all that you do. Can you please look at FLO? Flower Foods, absolutely. What is a major support level on FLO? Let's take a look. So I had a level of 1436. That was my level of support. Next level of support is $12.30. You see this pivot low here, this low here from November of 2012. Wow, did not really get a bounce off of that level. Kind of crazy, but $12.30 would be my next level of support on Flower Foods. Not a company I've traded before, full disclosure, so I don't really know how it moves. However, if you do get down here, or you can kind of break to the upside of this down sloping trend line, could be a potential great level to enter the position. What other questions do you guys have for me? Mar says the 4 topping tails were on Solana yesterday. Yeah, I saw the topping tail Solana. So Solana was trading in this nice upsloping, this wedge, right? I do think it favors a downside move, but it also broke out of this kind of wedge pattern. Even though this upsloping wedge is kind of a bearish signal, you can do a couple things. I said this earlier in the Trader's Edge live crypto. You can enter here around 223 on a long position, looking for a bounce off of the retrace. Or, right, if it closes below it and confirms, you can short it, looking for a move down 10-ish%, hitting the bottom of this wedge and potentially further. I do like that topping tail on there, but I do agree that it's bearish. You can even just short it now and stop out on a negation of that topping tail. Liana says, would you say that AMC is in a bullish wedge? Thank you. Absolutely. Let's take a look. I assume you're talking about this type of wedge, something like this. And I'd say that if this is your wedge, then yes, it is bullish. I don't love it because I only have 2 price points on both sides, but it should still be valid. You can probably draw wedges within a wedge. Everything is always a wedge. Down sloping trend line that you did break above. Another down sloping trend line that you did break above today, and another down sloping trend line that you're breaking above right now. So yeah, if you can get above this trend line, I'm likely looking for a move to at least this 330 level, if not higher, right? 330 to 340 on AMC. So I'd argue that yes, this isn't a wedge, and yes, I would say that it's definitely more bullish than bearish. It is sitting at the lows of its charts, but yes. AI asked this saying, dear Lawton, could you please check the Wolfspeed stock and where I could go? Yeah, my level of resistance is this 332 level. That's where I expect to pull a bounce. Great move on Wolf today. My buying level is 189. So this is my spread, my support and my resistance levels. You can take a picture here, screenshot that, or pause it and save it for later. But those are my levels for Wolf to the upside and the downside both. Juan says, hi Lawton, how do you see CMG and KDP? These good levels to go in on this for a couple while. Yeah, Chipotle for me, it does favor move up. It is kind of like bear flagging though, right? Like you're like this. Maybe 36.13 could be a level for a bounce. 36.13. That's a level I'd consider looking for a bounce on Chipotle Mexican Grill. That's where I'm a buyer, 36.13. KDP, I'm already a buyer. I'm a buyer in KDP. 26.67 is a huge level that I anticipate a bounce. Keurig Dr. Pepper, this is the pivot low right here from October 2020. But yeah, I'm already a buyer there, 26.67. I'm already in. I'm long right now, KDP. You don't have to listen to me. Remember, I'm just a guy on the internet. It's important to, of course, do your own research and figure out what levels you like and you prefer, but they're going to differ. Chad saying, could you check the trend line attempt for me on Mobileye? Okay, let's see, Mobileye. I've connected the one from the January 25 peak. Through the lows of the recent days. 25 peak through the lows of the recent days. Okay. Yeah, like this. Basically, right? Something similar to this. A bounce. It's still valid. Yeah, I would say it's valid. You had a pullback from here, break above, bounce, break below, bounce, retrace, and continued move higher. Just know that each time that it moves past these stocks, it is less powerful, this trend line. But I think the potential long could definitely be in play, yes. On this. Astis, I answered your question. Davin says, thoughts on Fed rate cuts by 25 basis points and effect on crypto. I think that it's expected. I think it's going to be sell the news. So I expect a bounce, and then I pull back, right? A bounce and then a pull back. Peggy says, if we're expecting volatility in September and October, what resistance level on the VXX, the midterm should we look for? Thanks. Resistance level, I think you're looking first at 36.44 and again 37.39, having an okay move up today. So 7% and 10 to 11% higher. Naomi says thoughts on LITE. This thing keeps running. Yeah, absolutely. Pushing up high. And look at this trend line that I had before. 1, 2, 3 hits. I expect a resistance here at this 169, 170 region here. On light, Naomi. But it has had a nice run up, not even off of earnings, right? It had earnings on the 12th of August, but this is where I'm anticipating a pullback. 1, 2, 3, and then up here. Resistance up here. Around 169, 170. Mar says, does it change the TA for Solana? Not particularly. She says, I hope you're doing great. Absolutely. Could you please advise your thought on Wolf and the short-term resistance support? Already answered that. Chad says, would love to see Build-A-Bear's name in the Mag 7 one day. Would be a good chuckle. Imagine, yeah, they would have to. For Build-A-Bear to get in the Mag 7, see what Tesla's at. 1.3 trillion. You get quite a ways to go on Build-A-Bear. Quite a ways to go. Okay. Michael says, I'm a member of Smart Money Stocks and ETFs. Well, thank you so much for being a member. It's hard for me to say, Michael, because those aren't my specific positions. But I think those are Garrett's positions, if I'm not mistaken. But if those are Garrett's positions, I'm sure he talks about it in his videos and his recaps, explaining his plan. What I would personally do might be different from what he would do, so I wouldn't want to mix you up in that way, right? But if there's one in particular you want me to look up and throw on the screen, I can definitely give you my support and resistance levels. Chad says KDP's hit our first target from 20 today. Made my first long entry with it. Awesome, Chad. Yep, I'm long as well. Liana says is grab holdings near at 615. 615 or around there. A short. 624 is my first level of resistance. 624 and 661 are my two levels of resistance just now. It did break this kind of head and shoulders pattern, which does have a measured move around 41% higher. I don't think it's going to go 41% higher. You saw this previous head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders rather, drawn out. But yeah, 624 first level of resistance, 661 second level of resistance. GB says MSTR entry levels, down sloping trend line here, down sloping trend line here. If you want to go long, absolutely love the stock, want to go long, you can enter on a break of this down sloping trend line. You can also wait for a retrace to this $300 level. That's going to definitely be some support. Now, do I think it goes there specifically? I can't say that with any certainty, but here's what I'll say. You can enter on a break of this or a retrace, right? One of these two levels. On a break or a retrace, you could look for an entry long into MSTR. GB says VYG. Seems to be up slightly today on some news. Yeah, it's up like 2-3%. It's a smaller company. I don't have too much on this. It's a newer company. This actually looks potentially bearish, right? You have this. It's kind of like down move, and upward sideways consolidation. Could almost say that's like, could almost say that you're favoring a pullback here, right? Like this, kind of favoring a pullback there. Yeah, Davin, I already said, I think with these basis cuts, I think that's what's anticipated. I think the markets, particularly crypto, will have a short-term bounce and then a pullback, right? Martin says, what's up, Lawton? Hope you had a nice weekend. What's up, Martin? Looks like DOT, okay, it's forming a bull flag. Do you see potential trade opportunities? Yeah, potentially it is forming a bull flag, but this is not something I would ever trade just because it is too thin. This thing is a 1.5 $150 million company, very, very tiny company in the grand scheme of things. If you want to enter long, you can go ahead. Just know that this thing can move. You can be 30% in the money or out of the money at any point in time, right? So I just say play with the stop. Maybe you can enter on a retrace to this trend line, and you can stop out on a close below 684, this gap fill where I anticipate support. That's what I would never do this because it is too small to trade. $150 million. It's not liquid at all. Yeah, you can just see it from the 1 minute chart. I would not touch it, but if you want to, you can try that. Drew says, hey, Lon, what's up? Jordan, hope you're doing well. Any short levels on Roblox? For me, it already hit that short level. 137 was that gap fill. Went a little bit higher today and then pulled back decently. Next level for a short on Roblox is going to be a double top around 150, right? Pierce at 150 would be a level for me to short Roblox. Additionally, if Roblox continued higher, you could look for a break of this upsloping trend line. Taras says, what's up, Taras? Hello, would it be possible to check Givox? Absolutely. Right, you have this nice kind of wedge here. Check levels of support and resistance. Support, resistance. I would say that resistance, you're looking at a move. I mean, you're for sure going to have resistance at this high pivot, but I'm trying to find some higher. Yeah, let's go like this. Resistance. Support is really tough on this one. These are my levels of support and resistance on Givox. You can take a picture, screenshot, whatever. It's trading in this beautiful wedge, though. So let's see how this wedge pattern plays out. Mars says, I trade Solana next to Bitcoin. They go pretty similar. Is this trigger good? Is there anything I have to watch out for? No, I mean, the crypto markets generally follow Bitcoin. So as long as you're tracking the price of Bitcoin, just like when you're trading stocks, you generally track the S&P and the NASDAQ as well, right? So seems okay. David says, thanks again for the great info. Did you cover stocks yet? Still swing long? Yep, I'm still long SOXS. Juan says, hi again. Would you buy stocks for a long position? Yes, I'm currently in. At 612, yeah, I'd for sure buy. I'm in already now at a worse average. So chat says, cheers, mate. Looks like Palladium put a topping tail. Yeah. let's see if it did. It did not. It did not put in a topping tail because it is not the highest bar in the past 90 days. But it still could be a reversal signal. But no, it is not a valid topping tail. Remember, the qualifier of topping tails is close in the bottom 25% of the candle. Has to be 90 days of it. And then some more things. But if you want to learn about topping tails and how much of the topping tail, like how to qualify something for a topping tail, you can type in verified investing topping tail in Google, and it'll spit out a nice blog that we have that literally is for free that explains topping tails and bottoming tails. GB says thoughts on GEMI IPO. Yeah, I mean, this isn't surprising, right? It popped and then dropped, right? Typical rug pull. I don't have anything to say. Like rug pulls, this is what happens all the time on rug pulls. You always see price pop and then drop, right? I tried to get shares for the IPO on Robinhood, and I was going to sell it intraday for a quick gain, but yeah. Davin says, how big of a bounce do we get the Fed cuts, like Ethereum to 5K or just a 1 day pump? I expect like a couple days pumps, right? Like maybe a day to a week, right? Like Ethereum to 5K. I don't know that Ethereum is going to go all the way up to 5K, but if it was like at its highs, if it was like over here at 4,800, I'd say go to 5K. So maybe it goes up to 4,800, maybe $300 to $400 pump in Ethereum. We got to see. Are you doing a swing trade on KDP? Martin says, yes, I'm long KDP for a swing trade right now. Literally right now. So yes, I'm long KDP right now for a swing trade. Absolutely. Now this is for Bloom Energy on the weekly charts. If you connect from 38 to 45%, it shows that broke out, meaning correction is coming. I'm having difficulty understanding your question here. If I connect from 38 to 45%, it shows how it broke up, but it can mean a connection is coming due to how extended the move has been. Thank you. Chad says, thanks, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much. No, I'm not familiar with what you're trying to say. Do I think this favors a pullback? Absolutely. I do think this favors a pullback. It's like 8 candles straight up, right? 8-ish candles straight up. So on the weekly, check on the daily, right? Get even gapped up last week. But I would say that, yes, it favors a pullback. It has had a nice run since this gap fill here around 150% to the upside. But anyways, guys, that's it for me here at Verified Investing. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider to like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithms. And if you like this content, my name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. I go live every single day. The markets are open from 1:15, 12:30 to 1:15. All right. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you have any more questions, feel free to throw them my way on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Lawton Investing. All right. My first name followed by the word investing. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.